got our pieces here. They are nice and shiny, just first stage satinization complete, and we'll finish off the polishing after I've done the fit up. So the key now is to get these sat in the right place. Now this is my left knee, okay, so this is going to go that way, on that side. And this is KL1, so knee left 1. Now this wants to sit. Approximately like that when it's fitted in together. Okay. So you can see actually very little at the top, but standing proud here quite a bit. Then as it comes up, so I'll get that there, it should sit like that. Okay. Now getting these holes is a bit of an art form, and we'll go through that in this video. Okay, so here we can see we've got one knee cop with 2 points marked on it to punch, 1 centre punch, 1 hammer, and 1 absolutely fabulous Roper Whitney punch, which is an essential tool for anybody punching holes in steel, in my humble opinion. So firstly, punch, centre punch. Put it on the bench, sight my punch, tap with hammer. This isn't an essential step, but what it does is it gives me an easy sighting point for the Roper Whitney punch to punch through, because you probably can't see on the video, but each one of the punches from the punch kit has got a little point on it. I can't find it. Yeah, bit of a fiddle down. There we are. 2 nicely punched holes. Now, from KL1. So KL1 marked number 1 there. Remember, like I said, I want that to be sitting like that in there, with it nicely lined up. That a little bit. Now, what I've got on here is a little mark, which is kind of on this line up there. I don't want to have it too close to the edge, because it'll make the metal weak. So I'm going to put that a little bit further in than I've marked up there, and that would probably be about 3/8 of an inch in. Just measure it. 5/16. Just a little punch. Well, first hole punched. And this can go in my number 1 spot. Now the tricky bit is actually fitting the other side. So what I've got here is I've actually put a small bolt through here, which allows me to fit them and remove them a couple of times. I've actually marked onto the lame as well where I want it to be in the open and a closed position. Okay, and you can see if I do that, that's sat there nicely lined up, closed. I've got a good point here if I say, well, I want to be ½ an inch in from there. So what I'll just do, I'll just mark where the edge of the plate is, and I know that my mark is needs to be ½ an inch in from that. Right, so we're going to start with fitting the second lane. I've got my point marked on my first lane. I'm going to stick my first hole. Fiddling about that time. Right, so again, this needs to fit nicely, and people who were observant right at the beginning of this would have noticed that I built all of the lames from the same pattern piece, even though the lames on the inside are smaller because they're on the inside of that curve. And the answer is yes, I really should have 2 separate lame patterns, one for an outer, one for an inner, but I don't really make enough of these, and I'm not really confident enough in my pattern at the minute. So what I normally do is I get all this lined up, then I just trim this little bit off at the end. Right, I've got my point marked on my second lame. How close is that to the edge? That's only 1/4 inch, so I'm gonna move that in just a 1/16 or so. I want to have these quite close to the edge so I get maximum amount of movement for articulation, but not so close to the edge that they will tear or damage easily. Right. Get another little bolt. Yeah, see actually how well these line up. This is quite a nice piece. So if I imagine my line coming up here like this, so I'm going to put my next hole about there. Right, now here you can see how the 2 shapes I've made haven't lined up quite as nicely as those first 2, because that's my first hole with the articulation open, right, which worked really nicely. But then when my articulation closed, right, I'm actually at this point. So really somewhere in the middle between there and there is where I want my hole to go, which means my articulation on this piece is not going to be quite as good as on the first piece. I actually think I can see where the problem is, and I don't know if this will come across on the video, but when I'm in this position, I'm in my open articulation, and you can see just here there's very, very close contact, and that actually pushes it pushes the metal across as it closes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my rawhide mallet and I'm just going to reshape that one slightly. A tiny little reshape with the hammer, my rawhide mallet. So I use the rawhide mallet so I don't leave any dings in the nearly finished product. And I've actually got a point here, which is just there, which actually gives me very nice articulation. So you can see, just in that little area there, it says how much of a little difference it makes between something that works really nicely and not. So I'll just punch this hole and then we'll see how it works. There we have it. I think anybody can agree that that's a pretty good range of motion for an e-cop. Now, just got to repeat that same operation for the other side and for the right knee, and then we'll be able to move on to actually finishing off the polishing and then riveting them together. Got some gaps here. They're not huge, but they're enough to irritate me from a craftsman's perspective. So I'm just going to tweak this a little bit with a rawhide mallet and then we'll come back to it. You can see it there. There's a much reduced gap between those two plates. If I do this in a closed position, and then the open position, right, what that's done, right, is that's moved that all to one spot. And then we have it. Goes right from there, nice and closed, right there, nice and open. Pretty much on the limit of its motion. Only maybe an 1/8 or maybe 3/16 overlap there that I can feel. So I'm pretty pleased with that. It's well worthwhile having a good supply of these little bolts or other fasteners. The threads on them do tend to get damaged after a while, so they don't last forever, but yeah. So that looks like that. And you can see here, that's that high on that side, okay, and then only that high on that side, which means it's distorted that way, which you can actually see. If you look at that, and you can see how that's kind of straight up there, and these ones are just twisted inward slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist these outwards with some percussive maintenance, and then we'll go for the fitting. Okay, now we're in a position where we can put in the last hole on this one. I'm going to do the same thing as I did before with the attaching this one to the cop. Whereas I'm just going to line this up nicely under that in a sort of in a closed position, which I'll try and show on camera while holding it in position, like this. And you can see where I've got just enough poking out where I could actually stick a line of rivets down it to attach it to a coist or to a demi-greave, and I'll put a hole in here and I'll open it out, and I've done it right. I'll put a hole in the same place, and there you are. Locks down nicely, and locks down nicely there. straighten it a little bit more. And we have very nicely articulating knee joint. Right up like that.